Welcome. I'm Barbara Call, Senior Director of Content Strategy at CIO Marketing Services, and I'll be your host and moderator for today's video titled Harnessing the Power of Alliances and Partner Ecosystems, and brought to you by CIO, IDC, and Veeam. I have four speakers with me today. First up is Courtney Pitts, Global Senior Alliances Director at Veeam. Welcome, Courtney. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, Barbara. Thank you. So my job's quite simple. I'm the Global Alliances head for Veeam Software. And the responsibility of our organization is really to develop and implement a really, I call it world-class alliance program with, I call them our top and our most strategic alliances to harness the power of their capabilities to bring more value to our customers. That's pretty much it.
All right, nice to have you. My second speaker is Dave Russell, Vice President of Enterprise Strategy at Veeam. Dave, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, Barbara. Great to be here with you and everyone. So I'm Dave Russell. I'm in the office of the CTO at Veeam, and worldwide look after making sure we can meet the needs of now 450,000 customers, and we really couldn't do it without our alliances.
Great, nice to have you, Dave. My third speaker is Lacey McGee, Director of Global Alliance Marketing at Veeam. Welcome, Lacey. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, Barbara. Nice to meet you. Hello, everyone. My name is Lacey McGee, and my team works directly with Courtney's team to take that strategy that they've developed and then partner with the marketers at our alliances to really amplify that in the market, meet customer demand, and just let customers know the great solutions that we have and how we can help them.
All right, great. Nice to have you. And last but not least, Chris Weber, Director of Strategic Alliances at IDC. Welcome, Chris. Tell us about yourself.
Yes, I head up, as it says, the Strategic Alliances program here at IDC. And I look out at the marketplace from both the strategic alliances and strategic partnerships and try to see where the changes and the movements are going in the marketplace.
All right, nice to have you, Chris. And now I'll hand things over to Dave to tell us a little bit about Veeam. Dave, over to you.
Hey, thank you, Barbara. If you're not familiar with Veeam, we've been in the data protection availability space for 15 years now. And if you have heard of Veeam, but it's been some time, we're far more than just the vSphere or the hypervisor protection company. Here's a workload view of our platform, and we've grown to protect not only virtual workloads, multiple hypervisors, multiple different physical systems, NAS and unstructured data, number one provider in Microsoft 365, and in IaaS in the major cloud or hyperscalers, as well as enterprise applications and Kubernetes. We have over 450,000 customers globally in 180 plus countries. And now we're going on our fourth year of generating in excess of $1 billion in software-only revenue associated with backup recovery, disaster recovery, and migration. So we like to oftentimes tell people, no matter what your pain point is, if it's a specific workload, you're looking at a specific work group or location, or if you're looking to modernize your entire environment, Veeam has you covered from the little to the largest. And we do scale with the same product down into the remote office and up into the enterprise, protecting, in one case in Europe, a major bank, 20,000 machines, 8 petabytes of data with just a single instance of our Veeam platform. But enough about that. Let's turn it over to Chris to double click on some great IDC stats.
Thanks, Dave. You know, what brings us here? We're talking about business transformation, and transforming any business is a complex undertaking, regardless of the size of an organization. And as such, it requires extensive experience and expertise. You may be asking why transformation urgency? Well, simply, organizations are required, and there's the necessity to change how they do business in order to achieve necessary and valued results. Now, CIOs are also faced with significant market disruption, as well as uncertainty regarding future inflation and economic projections, just like all of us. To address these factors, they must continuously evaluate and make sound trade-offs, as well as deal with issues such as existing technology debt. So as a result, IT teams must bring greater financial accountability to the variable spend models of SaaS and digital infrastructure, all while making trade-offs between speed, cost, and quality. So you may be asking, what are CIOs seeking from you? Well, very simply, options. An experienced CIO knows that true digital transformation is not going to be achieved through a cookie-cutter approach. So rather, solutions that are tailored to their strategic objectives and business requirements, not viewed as an off-the-shelf standard approach, produce measurable results, as well as fit budgetary concerns, and overall, don't overwhelm and confuse them. And as we'll see, Veeam's alliance and ecosystem approach supports these enablement requirements.
And Chris, I really love what you were describing there, both in terms of customers, but also in terms of options. I think if we've seen anything in these last couple of years in the pandemic timeframe, the customer requirements have changed. Their activities are certainly changed. How we reach them is vastly different compared to what it was just a few years ago. And your notion of options, flexibility, adjustment, and delivery, I think is spot on. That was always true, but I feel like we've seen an intensity of all of these attributes in the last couple of years.
Yes, that's very, very true because of the simple baseline that the world as we knew it, or the simple models that we could, really, were they truly simple? But in terms of now, the simple models that we used to have to face are no longer that way. We have to think about cloud and transformation to that cloud, and what loads are we going to put, and how are we going to handle security issues, and a whole array of new options that are so complex that for the average CIO, even the most experienced one, it can be overwhelming.
Yeah, and if we double click on that, I want to share with you and our audience a bit of research that we conducted at Veeam earlier this year. This comes from something we call the Data Protection Trends Report. We've been doing this annually now for a few years. In our space, meaning backup recovery, disaster recovery, this is the largest ever report in the history of our space. And we did ask specifically, Chris, around digital transformation challenges. And what I'd love to get your thought on is, if you look down this list, I don't think any of this would surprise you. Probably even pre-pandemic, the fact that I'll call it skills at the top and then technical debt at being a close number two. I feel like we could have had that conversation for at least a decade and a half. But again, I think this has been exacerbated by recent activities, global events, and we're still maybe not fully out of this because we have supply chain concerns. And you kind of alluded to it as well. We might be bringing on new things, but it's not like we're fully decommissioning things. So now we've got a plethora of stuff to deal with, don't we?
Oh, yes, Dave. And, it's the speed of that change, I think, that's really exasperating all of this. Usually we had more time, especially in the CIO office, to make certain transactions. And it might be moving from one technology slowly to the other. But because of, as you said, supply chain issues, other economic factors, obsolescence taking place, but even more importantly, customers have raised the bar and the level of demands that these sort of issues have to be handled in a short window.
Yeah, I like what you said there, because it's not that we have the skills issue in the data center because people aren't any less capable than they ever were before. It's really because they're very busy trying to keep pace with everything that's going on with the rapid level of change. And part of that change is a difference or increase in delivery expectations. Everyone wants services to be ever reliable, faster, more easily consumable, et cetera. So staffing has always been a challenge. I think it's especially difficult now. And then you look at, if you're contending with older solutions, maybe a little less flexible, maybe a little more brittle, and you're simultaneously trying to transition to what you said, more modern infrastructures, also embracing cloud in a hybrid cloud, multi-cloud manner, this can put some real stress on not just availability, but the data center as a whole. But Courtney, I'd like to turn it over to you now, because as we think about what Veeam does and how we rely on our alliances, maybe you could help double click on this for us.
Yeah, thank you, Dave, and great discussions, guys. If you kind of think about where Veeam came from, we basically came from a customer first, customer choice style of business. That's really where Veeam was originated from. And in doing that, what it allowed us to do is we kind of built our business around those things that we could bring to the market with an alliance standpoint, with a partnership standpoint that we could never do for our own sake. We see a lot of those, I'll call them our competition or others in the industry out there who've chosen to kind of build their own and bring that directly to their customers. I think that goes to Chris's point of one size fits all. That's never good for anybody. So, we kind of started with that approach. And, we look at it from a Veeam standpoint, we look at it as our customer, we want to meet our customers where they are. So to your points, I mean, some customers are done. They've kind of put the time, the money, the resources in, and they really are on that hybrid, modern hybrid track. But majority of them are not. The majority of them are somewhere between idea phase and implementation phase, and they're trying to make that work with the limited amount of resources and time and money that they have. And again, that kind of responds to your technical debt. And so what Veeam's done is we've really put together, I think, a full set of programs that allow us to bring a rich group of alliances to our customers. If we take a look at the next slide, kind of what we've done is we looked at our customers first. And we have a lot of customers who are kind of sitting up and by the way, this is just a sample of the relationships we have. We have hundreds more. I could never fit on this slide. But if you just kind of look at it for the sake of this discussion, up on the upper right, we have customers that have just tremendously strong relationships with their hardware vendors. And they're partnering with them for the services, the rich services that they bring. They have trusted relationships with them, and they're helping them with new models like as a service and things that are really kind of cool that make their IT go better. And so we partner strongly with them to ensure that they have a data protection solution that fits in with that model. If you take a look to the right, we see a lot of companies that may have a lot of those things kind of figured out, except for applications they want to put into the cloud. And really, all they need to do is partner heavily with those cloud providers. And so we built a relationship there and with our cloud providers to ensure that their data is always protected from on-prem to cloud and back if they choose to go that way. On the lower left, we see the fact that some customers, quite frankly, just don't have the resources and they do have the money, but they don't have the resources and don't want to put themselves into a risky situation. I think as we all realize, some people, as they look at the cloud with a limited set of resources, kind of like the wild, wild west in a bit, it's a do-it-yourself environment. They're trying to, build out their modernized IT without a lot of guardrails to protect them. And so they're putting their data at risk. And so they go to companies, if they're a global company, they may go to a global integrator that we have partnerships with here, or they may choose somebody who's, I'll call them a bit smaller, more boutique, but highly competent. And we call those today, we have a program called Veeam's Managed Service Providers. We have hundreds of them, and they have a deep experience to go all the way down to kind of an end-to-end solution, white glove approach, if you will, to give these customers something they wouldn't be able to get on their own. It's a very unique thing that I think Veeam brings to the market. And then up on the lower right, we see a place where we partner with alliances where they have some point solutions that our customers desire to build their infrastructure on. And so we have that relationships there too. So really, it's an all-encompassing solution that we bring to our customers to really give them what they want on where they are. Today, we've kind of changed our marketing logo to Unified for You. You can kind of see it. I guess it's up over here on the other side. I'd love to have Lacey McGee, who runs our Global Alliance Marketing, to share that with you.
Yeah, thanks, Courtney. So when we were kind of rebranding our Alliance program and really working with leadership, the goal was how do we portray what is really the meaning of our program and what are we trying to accomplish? And I think you've heard it from Courtney and others earlier. It's all about the customer. But what does that really mean? And so what we've seen is it really stands around kind of 5 core pillars. Courtney's done a great job of covering the strategy, so don't need to go back into that one. But even think about the joint engineering and the level of engagement that we have with our alliances, really looking in the short term to maybe 18 months, 2 years, but how can we provide solutions that solve those challenges of today? And you can think of things like working with some of our partners, working on more performance solutions that are really optimized for object storage environments, for example. It's not just short term, though, it's certainly long term. So how do we look 2 to 5 years out? How is the market evolving? And what do us and our alliance partners need to be jointly thinking about so that by the time the market does change, we can continue to meet our customers' needs? And it's really about partnering with those best in breed technology companies in the market. Courtney hit on the various types of partners that we have, from hyperscalers, hardware vendors, GSIs, tech partners, et cetera. So really looking across the gamut of our technology, the partners in the world, and how can we partner with them? And lastly, innovation is always going to be at the forefront. So continuing to develop, co-engineer, and iterate and innovate so that we always have the most modern, cutting edge solutions for our customers. And so just continuing on that thought, this is a perfect example, just taking a look at Veeam over the years, just with our primary storage alliance partners, the level of integrations across multiple partners, but also multiple platforms with the same vendor. So really continuing to focus and make sure that we give the customers the choice and the flexibility that they need to right-size these solutions for their end environment. And Courtney, we've talked quite a bit about the number of partners that we work with, as you and I both know is quite extensive. We really have the gamut, but maybe can you help us understand what are some of the key use cases and solutions that we can help our customers with?
Absolutely, Lacey, love to. So another way that we look at our alliances is based on the customer. And again, it's always a customer first. And the 3 use cases that come up the most are the ones you see on the screen here. Now, the one on the left, the backup and recovery, is purely Veeam's. That's our golden child. That's where we built our business. If you talk to our friends here at IDC, they'll tell you that we're co-leader in the market. And I think hopefully soon, hopefully sometime soon, we'll be the de facto leader in this market. We do that very, very well. And all of those partners I talked about earlier do this very well with us. So that's a key core competency of what's brought us to where we are today. But back to kind of where Lacey was going, a lot of customers are asking for more. They really want to get more and harness more out of their environment, and specifically to data protection, to make sure that they are taking account of what's newest and latest that allows them to put less time and effort into managing it, and allowing an automation or an automated or orchestrated environment to take place, so they have less time to spend having to watch over that. And we do that with our alliances. We go through our alliances and their capabilities, and we bring that rich capability to our customers in that fashion. The last scenario on the over to the right, I call it the boogeyman of all these different use cases, is everyone's scared about this ransomware thing. We all are, and we're concerned about our data and what might happen to it. And so, clearly, Veeam's concerned about that as well. We built that into our technology and into our software. But at the same time, what we've done with our alliances is we've kind of built out that entire broad approach. So, it's granted that a customer, if they lose their data or they're held by ransomware, they get to the end of the day, they can open up their Veeam backup and they're guaranteed that they're going to be able to get their data back and do it very quickly. That's a given. But customers don't want to wait to that point. They want to start earlier in the phase and start blocking them out earlier at the infrastructure level, at the server level. And so that's what we do with our partners. We work with them to ensure that we give them that broad brush approach to our customers, so they never need to kind of depend on that last mile, which is where they end up with Veeam. So again, very unique way that we, I think, bring a data protection approach through the use of alliances to our customers. The last thing I want to comment on here is, and not on this slide, but just in general, and I'd heard this quote brought up one day, is, kind of the future leaders in the industry are those who, truly embed a, I'll call it a alliance-centric approach to their business, not only in the fibers, but also in the way that they do business. And hopefully what we've talked about today, and hopefully for those who are listening today, you hear that in Veeam. You hear what we've done, where we've come from, the research we've done, the partnerships we had, and can really truly bring something more than just Veeam, but we bring this partnership that others in the industry probably wish they had, and that will continue to develop, continue to grow, so we maintain our leadership level in this business. So with that, I'd like to turn it back to Chris. Any last and final comments for us?
Sure, Courtney. And, really just want to summarize what I think has been said today is, why Veeam's alliance and ecosystem approach is so critical in today's environment. And I believe, as you've been highlighting, one of the key points is that you associate with partners that your customers can trust, who have proven track records of providing, proven outcomes, and who also are very open about leveraging their alliance ecosystem and working with you to meet the C-suite expectations, which are, coming from all different directions. So I think overall, it recognizes the complexity of a distributed environment, as well as we've mentioned already, the realities of associated technology debt, while advocating a collaborative selling, and most importantly, a solution-based approach. Barbara, back to you.
All right. Thank you. That was great. Thank you to all my guests. Courtney Pitts from Veeam, Dave Russell from Veeam, Lacey McGee from Veeam, and Chris Weber from IDC. And thanks to you, our audience, for joining us. For additional information on this topic, please visit the resources section on your screen. For CIO, IDC, and Veeam, I'm Barbara Call.